for was no longer the girl with gold anklets and maids who stood when she coughed. She was now the mother of two hungry girls, a Daisy, 6, and Cosiso, just 2, curled under the cracked belly of Ek Bridge, where flies and fumes were the only constant companions. That morning, dawn crept in slowly. The sky over Enugu was still dark, but the cold had already pierced through Nnenna's thin wrapper. Adiza whispered, "Mama, I'm cold." Nnenna pulled her close, tucking the child's bare arms into the fold of her wrapper. "I know, my baby. Just hold on a little longer." Cosiso slept soundly on her lap, mouth open, cheeks sunken. Her breath was shallow, her tiny legs still, flies dancing around her feet. She hadn't cried in hours, not because she wasn't hungry, but because hunger had silenced her completely. Beneath them, the ground was hard and dusty, stained with years of urine and forgotten sorrow. Around them, the city began to stir. Hawkers with basins on their heads, bankers in suits, and students with bread in hand all flowed past. But no one stopped. No one looked. They had not eaten in 2 days. Their last meal had been a half-rotten banana that Adiza picked up from a moving kekkenapep, and even that, Nnenna had only pretended to nibble. "Mama, can we go home now?" Adiza asked gently. Nnenna looked down at her. "Which home? The one with glass stairs and jasmine-scented bedsheets?" That home was sold, betrayed, burned away. She forced a smile. "Soon, my love." But deep inside, something was breaking. The tears she wouldn't let fall turned to fire in her chest. Her stomach growled loud enough to echo. Not for herself, but because Cosiso hadn't moved since dawn, and Adiza, her strong Adiza, had begun speaking slower. This wasn't the life she planned. Once upon a time, she was the heiress of Okafor Transport Empire, the pride of Gro Enugu, with more shoes than days in the year. But one foolish love, Ebuka Nwok, the charming smile, the sweet talker, had brought her to ruin. And now, here she was, barefoot, broken. But Nnenna was still a mother, and as she looked at the skeletal outline of Cosiso's shoulder and felt Adiza's shaking breath beside her, she made a vow with clenched fists. "Today, I will find food, even if it costs me everything. These girls will not die under this bridge." She stood slowly, bones aching, tied Cosiso on her back, wrapped a scarf around her dusty hair, and took Adiza's hand. The road ahead was long, but giving up was not an option. Not for a mother, not in this world. The road from Ek Bridge to Coal Camp was hot, dusty, and heartless. Nnenna had heard there was work at a new building site, labor work, carrying blocks, mixing cement. It wasn't a job for a woman with a baby on her back and a child by her side, but hunger does not care about shame, and poverty does not respect gender. She tied Cosiso tightly to her back. "Don't cry, my baby," she whispered. She took Adiza's hand and forced a smile. "Be strong for me." They walked for over an hour. The sun chased them. Their shadows stretched behind like ghosts. Adiza didn't ask questions anymore. She just followed, silent, eyes scanning the faces of strangers. By the time they reached the site, men were already at work. Big-chested men in dirty singlets, lifting blocks, shoveling sand, their hands coated in gray. The air was thick with cement dust. One man looked up. "Who be this?" he asked, frowning. Another laughed. "Auntie, this one no be hawking groundnut-o. This one na man work." Nnenna didn't answer. She bent and lifted a block. Her hands shook. Her neck screamed. But she didn't stop. One block, then another. The men watched. Some with pity, others with scorn. One offered her half a sachet of water. Another hissed and muttered, "Na so dem go born pikin full everywhere, then come they suffer." Adiza sat near a pile of broken wood, playing with a bottle cap. Her lips were dry, her eyelids heavy, her childhood slipping away too fast. By midday, the foreman arrived, a short man with a stomach round like a generator and a cap tilted sideways. His voice thundered over the clatter of shovels. "Who bring woman and pekin come here? Is this a daycare?" Nnenna dropped the block and stood, Her chest rose and fell like waves crashing. "Sir, I just want to work," she said, voice trembling. He marched forward, sniffed with disgust. "You keep turning to check baby. You day work or you day babysit? Or you carry your things come up from here? Please, I'll work harder." "You no serious," he barked. "You go fall and die here. Go hawk puff puff or zobo." She stood still, throat tight. Adaiza had already stood, walked to her mother's side. Kosiso let out a weak cough. Nnenna bent down, picked her baby, and held Adizi's hand. She walked away, dust on her legs, cement on her hands, shame sitting on her back like a second child. But she did not cry. Not yet. As they walked back toward the city, Nnenna whispered, "We will try again tomorrow." The next morning, Enugu's sky wore a heavy gray. The clouds pressed low like they too carried burdens. Beneath Eke Bridge, Nnenna sat on the cold cement. Kosiso curled on her lap, still too weak to make a sound. Adaizi leaned on her shoulder, her small fingers tracing the hem of her mother's wrapper. Nnenna's stomach had given up protesting. It only whispered now, low and empty. Her pocket held nothing but lint. Her body begged for rest, but her spirit would not allow it. Around her, Lagos buzzed. Horns, vendors, motorbikes, but it all sounded far away, like the city had moved on without her. And then, a woman passed. She wore a faded purple scarf and carried a tray of oranges. Her eyes, sharp but kind, landed on Nnenna. She paused, looked again, then walked closer. "You day suffer," she said softly, crouching beside her. Nnenna looked away, ashamed. The woman opened her small blue cooler and set it down. "Take this. Use and sell pure water. Start something. He no go big today, but he go feed your children." Nnenna stared at the cooler like it was gold. Her voice cracked. "God bless you." The woman nodded. "Return it if you ever stop using it. That's all I ask." Then she stood and disappeared into the crowd. Nnenna's fingers trembled as she opened the lid. Empty, except for a folded nylon bag inside. She blinked. It was real. She stood, tied Kosiso to her back, wiped Adiza's face with her wrapper, and walked to the closest kiosk with her last 300 Nnenna. "Give me pure water, 50 pieces. Soon she was back on the road. Cold water, 50 Nnenna, sweet like morning dew. Her voice rose above kicky horns, market noise, and bus conductors shouting destinations. She weaved between parked cars, knocked on tinted windows, ran after buses at red lights, balanced the cooler on her head like a queen with a crown of survival. Sometimes a kind driver bought one. Sometimes someone gave her extra. But often she shouted for hours, feet blistering, lips cracked, cooler still half full. One day, a man threw the sachet she gave him back in her face. "Did I ask you to come here?" Another poured the water on the ground, laughing with his friends. Nnenna didn't respond. Her eyes were on Adizi, who dragged behind her. On Kosiso, who slept through the heat like a girl dreaming of yam porridge. They walked until the sky turned orange. When night came, she counted her earnings. N750. Enough for small okpa and gari soaked with sachet water. She didn't eat. She watched her daughters chew slowly. Their eyes lit up for the first time in days. And for a moment, it was enough. That night under Eke Bridge, Nnenna looked at the stars and whispered, "Maybe tomorrow will be better." 2 days passed. Not one grain of rice, not one drop of gari, not one sachet of pure water sold. Rain had come and gone, and so had the customers. Kosiso's lips were dry and pale. Her head barely moved. Her breathing was slow, soft like wind lost in the trees. Adaizi no longer asked questions. She just sat, pressed into her mother's side like a shadow. Nnenna's bones ached from walking. Her throat was dry from shouting. Her legs shook beneath her wrapper. The cooler was now empty, of water, of money, and of hope. But she still stood up. She tied Kosiso to her back again, wiped Adizi's face, and began to walk. No destination, just somewhere. somewhere where help might fall like a coin from heaven. They moved through a hoto market, past frying puff-puff, steaming moi-moi, suya smoke, and mocking stares. She begged. First, a woman with bread. "Please, just the crumbs," Nnenna asked. The woman scoffed. "Go find work, lazy woman." She begged a man in a suit. He looked at her like dirt on his shoe. "Why do poor women keep having children?" Nnenna knelt on the roadside. "Please, even one slice of yam for my baby." Another man poured jollof of rice into his mouth and laughed in her face. "Do I look like your charity?" Her tears came uninvited. Heavy, hot, useless. Then she smelled it. Fresh bread, warm, golden, soft. It melted into her nostrils and unlocked a hunger buried deep. A daze stopped. Mommy. Bread. They followed the smell to the base of the Maryland pedestrian bridge. A bread seller stood there. Young, bold, chewing gum, her tray stacked with gold loaves, steam rising into the air. Nnenna approached slowly. "Sister, please, I'm not asking for money. Just one loaf. My children haven't eaten in 2 days." The girl looked up. Her face hardened. "Go and beg the man that got you pregnant." Nnenna's voice cracked. "Please, I beg you in God's name." The girl raised her voice. "Lazy woman, is it me that told you to open your legs? Leave before I call Agberos for you." A small crowd gathered. A few laughed. One muttered, "Nah, every day dem day beg." Adaeze held Nnenna's hand tighter. Kosiso let out a weak moan from her back. Nnenna turned to walk away, but her heart stayed behind. Her eyes locked on that bread like it was her last chance at life. And when the bread seller turned away to attend to a customer, Nnenna moved. Fast. She grabbed a loaf. Soft, warm, real. She ran. "Thief!" The seller's voice split the air like thunder. Nnenna shouted, "Adaeze, run!" Adaeze did. So did Nnenna. The bread pressed to her chest, Kosiso bouncing on her back. For a second, just 1 second, it felt like escape. Until the street boys came. They came from every corner. Boys from Ohoto Junction, garage touts, Okada men with no mercy in their eyes. They didn't need to ask questions. All they heard was, "Thief!" That was enough. Nnenna ran, barefoot, wrapper flying, one hand gripping the bread, the other reaching for Adaeze just ahead. "Run faster, my baby," she cried. Kosiso whimpered on her back, her small body bouncing, her whimper swallowed by the growing roar behind them. But hunger had stolen Nnenna's strength. A stick slammed into her ribs. She staggered. A kick to her shin. She collapsed. The bread rolled from her arms and landed in the dust. Untouched. Unbitten. "Thief! Useless woman! Na bread she steal, they run like criminal." They surrounded her. Boys in torn shirts, men with cold hearts, women watching from behind counters. Adaeze screamed, "Leave my mommy, please!" One man pulled her away roughly. Another boy stepped forward and slapped Nnenna across the face. She didn't resist. She covered her head. Blood mixed with dust. Her mouth trembled. "It was for my children." A voice shouted, "Bring Tyre!" Another echoed, "Yes, jungle justice." One ran into a mechanic's shop and returned with a worn black tire. They forced it over her neck. Her breath came in gasps. The world spun. "Please," she whispered. "I was hungry," Kosiso wailed. Her small voice sounded like a bird caught in fire. Someone brought fuel in a yellow bottle. It splashed cold and deadly on her skin. The crowd backed up. Phones came out. Some filmed. Some laughed. One of the boys struck a match. Small, bright, dancing. He tossed it. Whoosh! Fire roared to life. It swallowed her wrapper, then her hair, then her screams. It was not the scream of a thief. It was the scream of a mother burning for her children. Adaeze collapsed to her knees, screaming, "Mommy! Mommy, no!" Kosiso cried, her voice thin and cracking. But no one moved. Not until we-oh. Police sirens, loud, near, angry. Two vans screeched to a halt. Officers leapt out. One fired into the air. P.A.P. The crowd scattered. Chief Matthias, Nnenna's uncle, came running, his shirt soaked with sweat, his slippers flapping. He fell to the ground, shouting, "Stop! That's my niece!" The officers pulled the tire off, tossed sachets of water. One fetched a fire extinguisher. Shh! Smoke rose like a ghost leaving a broken house. Nnenna lay still. Her skin burnt, her wrapper, ashes, but she was breathing. Weak, barely, but alive. Adaeze rushed to her side. Kosiso still cried. Chief Matthias held them both. And the van drove off, sirens screaming louder than the fire. The room smelled of antiseptic and burned dreams, white walls, beeping machines. Bandages wrapped around what was once Nnenna Okafor, now barely a shape under linen. She lay still in a hospital bed at Enugu, her skin cracked and blackened like overcooked yam. Only her eyes moved, slow, tired blinks that said she was still here, though barely. Beside her sat Chief Matthias, her uncle. His eyes were red from crying, his voice raw from shouting. "You're safe now, Nnenna," he whispered, placing a trembling hand on hers. "The girls are safe too. I'm taking care of them." Nnenna blinked. A single tear slid down the side of her face. Her lips moved like dry leaves. "I want to see them." "You will," he said softly, "but there's something you must hear first." He took a deep breath, then said the words that cracked the silence like thunder. "Ibuka has been arrested." Nnenna blinked again. Her bandaged fingers twitched. Her eyes widened in slow motion. Chief Matthias leaned in closer. "The police searched your old house. They found letters, recordings, documents. He planned everything, right from the beginning." Nnenna's heart raced beneath the monitors. What do you mean?" Chief Matthias's voice cracked. "Your parents didn't just die of sickness. He poisoned them, slowly, carefully, just enough to look like natural death, so he could inherit everything through you." Nnenna froze. No air in her lungs, no strength in her bones, just pain, searing, silent. She remembered the soft kisses, the sweet names, the big wedding, the laughter, the lies, all of it, a mask. Her voice came as a whisper, hoarse and hollow. "He never loved me." "No," Chief Matthias said, tears now flowing down his cheeks. "He loved your inheritance, your ignorance, your pride." Nnenna turned her face to the wall. She didn't cry. She couldn't. Her body had shed every tear already. But in her mind, she screamed. She screamed for her parents, for herself, for Adaeze and Kosiso. For every moment she had believed she was a queen in a palace when she was really a pawn in a cage. And now the cage was gone. So was the palace. So was her skin. But she was alive. Her voice came again, broken but clear. Love should never hurt like this. Nnenna remained in the hospital, silent, bandaged, her skin a map of pain. Her fingers trembled when she reached for water. Her breath was short. Nurses came and went. So did her uncle. But what brought light back into her world was the sound of tiny feet and a soft voice. "Mommy!" Adaeze entered the room in a faded yellow dress, holding a flower she had picked near the gate. Kosiso followed behind, her cheeks fuller now, her eyes brighter. She no longer whimpered in silence. She now laughed when tickled. Nnenna cried for the first time, not from pain, but from gratitude. Adaeze climbed carefully onto the bed and laid her head beside her mother's shoulder. "You didn't die," she whispered. "You're our lion." Nnenna's bandaged fingers stroked her daughter's hair. Kosiso reached out, giggling, and clutched her mother's hand. Chief Matthias stood at the door, watching silently, his arms folded, eyes wet. He had taken in the girls, sold one of his inherited lands to fund Nnenna's treatment, and told the entire kindred the full truth. "I should have believed you before, Uncle," Nnenna said weakly later that night. "No," he replied. "We should have fought for you even when you didn't believe in us. You were proud, but we were proud too, and pride never raises children. It only burns bridges." Outside, news of Ibuka's arrest spread. Videos from the day of the mob beating had gone viral. Human rights groups called it a miracle. Jungle justice survivors were rare. Survivors who were once millionaires? Almost unheard of. And Nnenna now had scars. Deep ones. On her legs, on her back, across her heart. But she also had her daughters. And one morning, as the sun spilled into the room like warm oil, the nurse brought her a gift, a letter, from the woman with the purple scarf. "I saw your story. I never knew your name, but I always knew your strength. That cooler was never about water. It was a seed, and seeds bloom in fire." Nnenna pressed the note to her chest and closed her eyes. She didn't have riches. She didn't have a mansion. But she had life. She had her daughters. She had a second chance. And in the ashes of her old life, something new was beginning to rise. A full moon hung over Enugu like a silent witness. The breeze was soft. Crickets sang gently in the shadows. And beneath the mango tree inside Chief Matthias's compound, Nnenna sat on a wooden stool, her hands weaving her daughter's hair. She was no longer the woman who ran from stones. No longer the woman who burned for bread. She was now a survivor, with scars like metals and a voice like thunder wrapped in silk. Daisy giggled. "Mummy, when I grow up, I want to sell bread too." Nnenna paused, then smiled. "Then you'll bake the best bread in the world, not because you have to, but because you choose to." Cosiso toddled over in her tiny pink sandals, a toy plate in her hand. "Eat, Mama." She offered invisible rice. Nnenna laughed, not the tired laugh of sorrow, but a full one, deep, honest, warm. A few weeks earlier, the state government had visited her hospital bed. Her story had moved thousands. Donations came in. One NGO offered to fund her rehabilitation and her daughter's education. Another offered her a role in a women's empowerment campaign, telling her story using her voice. She accepted. The first time she stood in front of a hall of young women, she had trembled. But when she spoke, the room stood still. "My name is Nnenna Okafor. Once I was rich, then I was ruined. I lost my parents, my home, my skin. But I didn't lose my daughters. And I didn't lose my fight." Crowds clapped. Some cried. Many listened, and in their eyes she saw what her parents must have once seen in her. Hope. Back in the village, a small foundation was born. The Adakosi Shelter, named after Adizi and Cosiso, a safe space for women fleeing abuse started by a woman who knew what the bottom felt like. Some days the pain in her legs reminded her of the fire. Some nights the dreams came, flames, screams, fuel. But every morning when her girls ran into her arms, she knew. The fire didn't win. She did. And under the moonlight, as she held both daughters close, Nnenna whispered the words that had carried her through it all. "Love should heal, not hurt, and no mother should ever have to burn to feed her children."